If you guys enjoy scary tales and worlds of dystopia, be sure to check out my friend at the Haunt Vault. You will not be disappointed with the reincarnation of Rod Serling. Link is in the description. Faint candlelight flickers inside the barn. The smell of damp hay and lavender oil lingers in the air. Matisse stirs, his breathing shallow, his face slick with sweat from fever. The rough fabric Élise used as a bandage is soaked through with blood. He groans, shifting uncomfortably. At the sound of footsteps, Matisse tenses, his body going rigid. The barn door creaks open, revealing Élise. She steps inside, holding a small tin cup.
Bois.
She kneels beside him, holding the cup to his lips. He winces, eyes barely open.
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Ce n'est pas empoisonné si c'est ce que tu demandes. Réfléchis-y. Si je voulais ta mort, tout ce que j'aurais à faire, c'est te livrer à la résistance. Ou aux patrouilles allemandes.
He hesitates, then takes a sip, coughing as the water runs down his throat. Élise watches him carefully, her fingers clenching around the cup. After a moment, he manages to mutter a few words, his accent thick.
Merci.
Élise doesn't answer. She should not be helping him. She should not feel pity for him. Instead, she leans forward, her voice cold but urgent.
Tu ne peux pas rester ici. Nous mourrons tous les deux si tu es prise ici. Ce n'est certainement pas un risque que je peux me permettre de prendre.
Matisse struggles to sit up, wincing at the pain.
Pas maintenant,
He grimaces, clearly in no condition to move. Élise exhales sharply, standing up. She knows he won't survive a night out there alone. Before she can say more, a sharp knock sounds from the farmhouse. Her blood runs cold. The night is quiet except for the faint crackling of distant fires in the village. Élise stands at her front door, forcing her face into a mask of calm. Her heart pounds like a drum in her ears. Outside, standing in the dim light of an oil lantern, are 3 men. 2 of them wear civilian clothes, but their expressions are hard, unreadable. The 3rd man wears a thick wool coat, a red armband marked with the cross of Lorraine wrapped around his arm. A resistance officer.
Bonsoir, Madame Dubois.
Bonsoir, que puis-je faire pour vous?
The officer steps forward, his boots grinding against the dirt.
Nous cherchons un homme.
Quel homme?
The officer watches her, his dark eyes narrowing slightly.
Un Allemand. Il a été vu près du village ce matin, blessé. Peut-être qu'il a cherché refuge quelque part.
Élise forces herself to look mildly interested, feigning confusion.
Un Allemand, ici?
The officer watches her a beat too long. Then, a second voice breaks the silence.
Ouvre la porte, maintenant!
The resistance men turn, their shoulders tensing as a new figure emerges from the darkness. A German officer. Oberleutnant Bauer. His black leather gloves glisten under the lantern light. His face is unreadable, but his eyes gleam like a predator's. The resistance men don't move, their hands drifting toward their concealed weapons. Bauer smiles.
Nous cherchons le même homme, je crois.
The resistance officer remains stone-faced, but Élise feels the shift in the air, the thin, brittle line between survival and slaughter. Bauer takes a slow step forward, boots clicking against the dirt.
Madame Dubois, avez-vous vu quelqu'un d'étrange ce soir?
Her fingers twitch at her side. She swallows the lump in her throat. She should give Matisse up. She should save herself.
Non, monsieur. À moins, bien sûr, que tu ne parles des Allemands occupant les terres françaises.
Silence. Bauer watches her for a moment, then tilts his head slightly, gaze as cold as stone.
Vous savez, les menteurs sont faciles à repérer.
The pulse in her ears temporarily robs her of her hearing. Then a sound echoes from the barn, a muffled thump. Bauer's head snaps toward the sound.
Qu'est-ce que c'était?
Les chèvres.
Bauer slowly turns back to her, gaze piercing her soul. A long, agonizing, and uncomfortable pause. Then finally, he exhales, adjusting his gloves.
J'espère que c'est vrai.
Just then, the doors open and many goats run out into the yard. He steps back, nodding to his men.
Bonne nuit, Madame Dubois.
Bonne nuit.
She doesn't breathe until the last boot step fades into the distance. Élise bursts inside, her chest heaving. Matisse, still weak, stares up at her. She storms over, grabbing him by the collar, furious, shaking.
Tu vas me tuer, espèce d'idiot, idiot stupide. Au lieu de me faire tuer, je devrais simplement te livrer. Peut-être même obtenir une récompense. À quoi pensais-tu en faisant tout ce bruit?
Matisse's whole body grimaces, his voice barely above a whisper.
Je suis désolé.
His eyes meet hers, and for the first time she sees it clearly. Fear, desperation. A man who is just as trapped as she is. She lets go, stepping back, breathing hard.
Je suis vraiment désolé, madame. Mais je dois admettre que j'ai épuisé tout mon français. Connaissez-vous d'autres langues pour que nous puissions communiquer correctement? Peut-être l'anglais? Je connais bien l'anglais.
Finally, she mutters.
Oui, je parle bien anglais. C'était ma deuxième langue à l'école.
Very weakly, Matisse nods.
You listen to me. You do exactly as I say, or we are both dead. Got it.
Solemnly, Matisse nods again. A silent understanding passes between them. They are in this together now, whether they want to be or not.